Did you watch all of episode 1 of Get Back?
Yeah.
You started that late, didn't you?
No, I texted you when I'd watched about half an hour of it.
It's still about 3 hours long.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think it's 3 episodes,
I went to sleep
8 hours,
about
40 in it or something.
I went to sleep at about 1 o'clock and it had ended, so...
So what was your thoughts?
Well, we were talking about this before, weren't we? Sorry. Do you know what's... I'll make you laugh here, potentially. But I actually enjoyed our last podcast. Like, I always enjoy our podcasts, but they were never structured. And I hate doing the structured thing because of the old fucking Radio 1 shit, you know? But I actually enjoyed it because I like doing little snippets of things. Like I enjoyed the music thing because you've given me good people. And I am proper out of touch with music now. And I've liked the people you sent. And since then... I actually have started listening to the Beatles, and that's why I've watched this. And obviously, he played Glastonbury as well and stuff. And I didn't know anything really that he played at Glastonbury. Put Get Back on, and I thought, if I hadn't been listening to them recently, I'd have probably turned this off after 30 minutes because the first episode's a bright drag. It's literally just a camera in the corner.
Toast and drinking port, aren't there? And
it's just a camera planted in a corner, and they're in some sort of dark...
The room's too big, isn't it?
Dark, massive warehouse, and they're all just like...
a soundstage in it.
Like I said...
They're tweaking them.
They're just literally like strumming away at chords and stuff, sort of trying to put
songs,
stuff to... you know, and that. And I was like... But, because I've been listening to them, I let it go. And I've said to Armo before, I don't know anything about the Beatles. I always thought that they were like, well, I don't know, I just sort of, what I've heard is that like Yoko Ono broke them up and like they didn't get on and this, that and the other. And you watch it and it's class how close they are and just how friendly they are. They're all like jamming together and they like look at each other in different ways. Like they look at each other, you can tell they're playing.
They have a connection, Paul and John, don't they? Like, it's uncanny.
And they're like, you can see that it, like Paul leads it, which I never knew. Like I always thought Paul was the bassist, and this is bad, but the assumption is always the bassist isn't really the main person.
He only
in
played
the band.
bass because he was the best of the 3 guitarists at playing it. He's not a bassist. He
plays everything.
It's his career now. His career
is
is now bass, but he only picked the bass up because George and John didn't know how to do it. And yet, I think if you watch the other Disney thing with Paul McCartney 321, or McCartney,
Rick Rubin.
Yeah, the Rick Rubin. When they isolate each track, they kind of talk about
his bass lines.
His bass lines are some of the best bass lines you'll hear. And he's not even a trained bassist. It's just he's just developed.
He's very musical.
He is, That's what we were saying. So it's like you're just watching him. And you can see him coming up with he's just constantly coming out with ideas and chord patterns and lyrics and stuff. And you're like, oh my God, this guy. Like
he's busy though, isn't he?
Yeah.
But that's it. You can they all get annoyed with him, don't they?
Fall away.
Yeah.
No, but that's also what we talk. Like he's such a lovely guy about it. It's not like they're horrible to each other. He just is a bit annoying and on top of you. But
because his pushing and his ideas and his pushing of his ideas. I don't think you'd have a majority of the hits without that.
I agree.
But,
to be honest,
you can also see why George is like, just give me a bit of freedom. George Harrison was clearly the best guitarist, but John would never Paul would never let him be that person, would he?
Yeah.
Not even on purpose.
He could never be.
He's always like, no, but what about this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Paul would then be like, well, say if you want to, George, but... But you can't argue. You really can't argue. On reflection, if they were all alive watching that, you'd like to think that George would say, you know, Paul, you were probably right most of the time. You were right to suppress me because what we did and what we created in the end was just magic.
But even George is talking about going, I might just go and do a solo record for a bit.
Yeah.
And then like have a bit of time, because I'm basically, no one's listened to my songs. The amount of songs that George Harrison had built up out of getting overlooked by Lennon and McCartney. He did a triple album, didn't he?
Yeah, but,
all things.
Okay, so, but like what Tone just said there, what are the big ones that he'd written in them albums? Like, for example, there's that clip where he's writing Get Back, I think. They're strumming along to Get Back, and George is trying to come up with some guitar, and that's when he leaves the band, I think, in the clip, in the episode I watched, and he gets pissed off and he goes, that's a massive tune, Let It Be and Hey Jude and all that. Paul's obviously written. What are the big ones George wrote? Not trying to be rude.
Something.
Just up till then.
Something.
How was that go?
So he's writing on there. He's in the next episode. You see him start to write it.
Okay. Because I know While My
So that's
Guitar
what you
Gently
see.
Weeps, which I like.
Was that
really
a Beatles track or was that
No,
his?
that's
No,
George.
White Album.
White Album.
And this is the thing, I'm a passive watcher, but there was
Here Comes
one,
the Sun.
I
Here Comes the
Me
Sun.
Mine, I Me Mine or something.
that's on Let It Be.
But that's what I mean. That's not a main record everyone knows, but George wrote that. So he's like, he writes decent songs, I would say,
Taxman.
but they're not
but
like the hits.
No, I know, but
that you all know.
I think they could have put anything out and there would have been a hit.
Do you reckon?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Old
I just
Brown
think
Shoe.
the controlling parts of Lennon and McCartney was just always we'll just release Lennon and so I think they could release any track. Well, they did because Ringo wrote a couple, and look, so some of the biggest Beatles hits have been Ringo's music. I think they probably just let George have a talking album track or a couple of talking album tracks just to keep him sweet.
Well, to be honest, it's also
Trusted
fair.
their own material, but I think anything they could have released anything. I don't think Beatles would do you agree? Would put a weak track or any song on their album that wasn't as strong as any of the others.
Well, not after.
Or they wouldn't.
not after
Paul
the-
wouldn't
not
put it
after-
on if
not
it was a
after-
weak song.
That's what we've
Well,
said
obviously
though.
the first
We
one
said
was
this
sort of
before.
some bangers and covers. But obviously, that's what it was, wasn't it? It was like, here, we might get 6 months out of this. Just go.
Yeah.
It was like they record the album in like twice the time the album plays or something. And basically just smashed it out the park. Just basically go record. Done album. Because it didn't have any money. They're on a rubbish label on EMI, weren't they? A comedy label.
But no, I think
George helped him. Martin.
But that's that I've got from it is that John even isn't like the main guy. It's mainly Paul, because even John has a speaking part.
There's very late in the career that though, and he was very influenced by heroin, wasn't he?
I don't know.
Point in
That's
his
what I
life.
mean, I
Yeah.
have no idea
Very
what's going
thin
on.
there.
But
He was-
there's
he
that
was on
recording.
heroin and crack, wasn't he? They reckon.
It's either at the end of part 1 or the start of part 2. George has left the band. John doesn't come into the rehearsal, so they ring John and they get him to come in.
Yeah.
And they go into the kitchen, him and Paul, and they don't know they're being filmed, but they've planted a frigging microphone
in the flowers.
and they listen to them talk. And John says to Paul, "I don't feel comfortable bringing my opinions because you're too forceful," to Paul. And I always thought John was the guy. This is what I'm saying from perception. I always thought John was like the forceful guy, but John just sits there quite quiet, really, in the whole thing, I think. And he just goes along. He's a bit hippie and that, and
I think you can see that Paul's fighting to keep
them together.
He could see that they're all, but they've all got wives, and John. They blame Yoko Ono, but John was just in love.
Yeah.
He
Well,
was
that's what
just-
I've got as well. I don't blame her. She was sat there quiet, the
Yeah.
whole thing.
And he was just fighting to keep what he loved.
No, but he loves the old, obviously, music hall and stuff. And he's like, why don't we do these tunes? And like, be like, what? But he's about, obviously, Paul, he's about having themes like another Sgt. Pepper thing and the piano and like some of his solo stuff he'll do.
Yeah.
Different. He's very sort of,
Methodical.
not theatrical, I think.
All right.
Yeah, the Wings is very.
That's what I think he is music. He loves a melody. He loves right a nursery rhyme style love song. He loves them,
Yeah, he said
But-
that, isn't it?
and he loves sort of like a bit of ups and down performance, a bit of pantomime about his music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas I think John, like when he's
John's more political.
The example, isn't it? The example is right. It's getting better on Sgt. Pepper's, and it goes. You got to admit it's getting better. It's getting better all the time, all jingly. And John goes, it can't get much worse. Like that sums them up. As
Yeah.
Lennon and McCartney.
That's what, because it's fresh in my mind. That's what Paul says when John doesn't come into the studio. He says, "I feel like I've been writing these songs for John and Yoko." like more political sound, because there's a line, I don't know if it's still in Get Back, but he says there's a line that says something like Pakistanis get out or something.
Because it was a
political song, wasn't it, about white nationalism?
And then didn't you end up? Obviously, well, what I got from it is it was a
Song?
satirical song, wasn't it? About the national about the
white nationalists.
Yeah, the white nationalists.
Yeah,
but in the end, I kind of felt that they realised that could be really misunderstood.
Well, I haven't watched it all, so
like if the message is we're laughing at you who are telling these people to get out. But that's a risky game for a big band, isn't it? To be singing the lines.
End up like an Alf Garnett situation where Alf Garnett's mocking people like Alf Garnett, but people like Alf Garnett are like mint, class him, innit?
Yeah, because I actually thought Alf Garnett was was someone that was like that.
No, but he's mocking the people. Like he's a caricature of the bigots.
I think that was a risk that the Beatles had with Get Back.
Well, I feel like that is more John, because that's, from what I've read, I feel like that's why he was also sort of maybe assassinated, because he was very political. I read that he was
on the FBI files.
On the FBI files. The FBI were tracking him. And
John was
because he was against the Vietnam War.
Very vocal. That's why he never left America, because he couldn't.
They tried to deport him.
Right?
Yeah, they tried to deport him because that's how mad is that? Oh my god!
That's a good save.
Terrible first touch.
So because he was very political.
The release Get Back is very different to what
he's start.
It's not even finished in the Rooftop, is it? Really, it's still like not the same. But even the demo songs, Give Me Some Truth from Imagine and stuff. John, that is. Do you know what? It's good to see. Like,
sorry, is that AstroTurf they're playing on this, isn't it?
No, that's just in the goal, isn't it?
That's just in the goal.
Is it just in the goal?
That's all.
Yeah, it is
that as well. So.
It's good to see the songs gestating, though, isn't it? Where they're going.
Yeah,
like something.
That's what
like
I'm
something
saying.
Like you just said, just say pomegranate or something. Something will come to your mind.
It's hard if you weren't listening to them or whatever. It would be a hard watch at first. Because the first episode is just them doing that.
But the second one's really good, and then the last one, I watched it and I was like, I might watch it again. I just got a beaming smile on my face. I loved it.
Yeah.
The first one is almost just like you watch it, like I said before, you've got that film director who's trying to get him to go to bloody Libya. And he's just like, have we thought any more about going to do the outdoor concert? And George is well against it and stuff. And you're like, that's what I like about them, is I didn't know anything about them. And they just seem really lovely. They're like, can you get the kettle on, please? Yeah, and have a cup
they were
of
very
tea.
humble,
They're just really nice, aren't they?
They'd come across very humble. They weren't like twattish with their power, were they?
They were all nice. Like some people, like Glyn, the sound guy, and that, are like saying, "Why don't you try this? Why don't you come in? You come in, and you come in, and then they try it." And
obviously, they've been with Glyn Johns for ages. Mal, who goes Mal
as well, this glasses guy.
Mal Evans.
He looks a bit gorbless, but he's just around.
And stuff. Did he have a kid? With Pete Best's mum? I think one of them, right? Or was that Neil Aspinall?
One of them, yeah. One of the young roadies had a child with Pete Best's mum, and that's why Pete Best was kicked out of the.
Who's Pete Best?
The original drummer of the Beatles.
Ah, right. Okay.
Well, and after you finish Get Back, go and watch the 2-part documentary, Living in a Material World, which is George Harrison. It's by Martin Scorsese. It's all like loads of it's candid footage from Olivia Harrison stuff all growing up, and you'll see how cool George is.
Yeah, so
that's about another 3 hours of your life.
He is cool. I just feel like I like John. Like he is cool as like. He's got the glasses. He's got the persona, hasn't he? You can see the Oasis in him.
Did it? Yeah.
Oasis do just rip him off, don't they?
Only visually, not musically.
No, they do musically. She's Electric is such a rip-off of one of the George Harrison tracks or something. It's so similar.
Only bits of it.
No, the chord pattern is very similar.
Musically.
Not like,
Oasis
as in like the strumming. Not all of it.
Visually, they're like the Beatles.
I can't remember the song, like I say, I can't. She's Electric, I know is the song, but I watched a comparison and they were so similar.
I've seen that on YouTube.
So they are musicals.
No, it's not
No,
that
just one
music.
song. I'm teasing.
I just type it away. It's all the time.
I'm teasing.
Do you struggle to picture or envisage Paul McCartney older than what he actually is on that now? When I was watching him at Glastonbury, I was like, hang about.
Yeah.
I couldn't process that because I just
I've
see
always
him
thought that, to be honest.
in Get Back.
But
With
How
a
young
beard.
he is.
also,
With a beard, yeah.
right, they're going all this stuff, right? So they're going, this is 1969, just gone in January 69, isn't it? Yeah, that's when they're in the studio. Yeah, is it? Yeah, so they're doing that. So they're doing all this. They've got a canon of songs behind them. George Harrison is 26. He's not 27 yet when that's getting filmed. 26 years old. You're a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're only 28. You're like, do you know what? The stuff that they've achieved before they're even 30.
Yeah.
Like, they're having bickering. They were like, while they were quite still like nice lads, they were still lads, weren't they?
Yeah.
26, 28.
Yeah.
You're still a bit of a bellend then.
Yeah. So I'm enjoying it. I'll go watch the rest of part 2 tonight when I go in.
But it was really quite emotional seeing. Does the whole of the ball have to be over the white line, by the way? Oh,
It has to be,
Yeah.
it was really quite sad. Like, you could see the genuine heartache in Paulo when he sat. When George, no, it's the following morning. George isn't there. Ringo has just turned up. John's late. And he sat there just like, and you can see the heartbreak in him. And that was
I think
such
that's
a
the clip
powerful
I'm
part.
talking about. Yeah, he talks about
and then
Yoko.
eventually sends someone. Yes, he's kind of like gently bad mouthed.
Yeah, he's not horrible, but
Yeah.
he just says like Yoko was there and she was talking for John
Yeah,
and stuff
That's
like that.
right,
And
yeah.
he's like,
and you
maybe
can
I
see
shouldn't
he's
have Linda
genuinely
in.
gutted. Yeah,
He says, if we had a manager, he'd probably tell us not to have our wives around and stuff. And yeah, because I feel like that's what they're missing. Is that they say it themselves? We're missing the leader. Mr. Epstein.
That changes in episode 3. Like, they get a manager, don't they?
Well, yeah, sort of. Yeah, the lawyer.
The lawyer.
Because he's a manager of the Stones, isn't he?
But he's a lawyer.
you're talking about
He's
Alan
like
Klein.
Alan Klein, yeah.
Oh, he comes in, so yeah. Yeah, I like
Well,
it.
you can
It's
see,
just-
right, so this one, so when you go, oh, what about, right, play me, if you want to play this, just tell me what to play, or play nothing, I don't care, then he's like, before he kicks off. If you watch Anthology, the series, the Beatles, when they go back together, they're doing this thing, and obviously Paul's still the same, so they're sat around, so Ringo's got his 90s hair, George looks like he's just come from the garden centre, and they're doing all this, and Paul's like, let's do this one. He's going, right, Blue Moon in Kentucky, let's play this one. And George is like, just a short version. Just like, he's just like, he's like the excitable kid still.
Yeah.
Age, so 97, what's he like? 67? No, 57? So you're like, and he's just like, just the short version. And he's going, and then George is like, right, like, that's enough.
Yeah.
I've had enough of you today.
I feel like that's what I'd be like if I was around that. Because he says, doesn't he, in that clip, he's trying to get the guitar right. And then Paul says something and he's like, no, but John's doing that or something. And then George says, well, you might as well not have 2 guitars then. And then they go, oh, should we have lunch? And that's when he goes, oh, I'm quitting the band. And it's like, yeah, well, they do make him feel a bit like, I do feel bad for him because you're watching it, and that's what I'm saying. You can see the chemistry. They just look at each other.
They're like brothers.
They're like sort of going to their own zone, John and Paul, and they're like that. And like George is just on the end, and Ringo does naff all, does he? He looks bored the whole time.
He's there for the ride.
He's just like that.
No, he does.
There's so many clips of him just like
drummer
that.
for him. Yeah, because they're going, is it Jake? And he's just like,
Yeah, but it must have been boring for him, sat around like that, because he
Well,
doesn't
he
even
quit-
do
he
like
quit
anything
before
interesting on the drums. He just plays like pretty.
He's a better drummer. He's a better drummer than what he was allowed to be in the Beatles as well. Because if you watch the McCartney 3-2-1, he talks about how they poached Ringo from another. So they're in Hamburg.
Rory Storm.
Is it Hamburg they're in?
Yeah.
And he's already in a band that have
They
that
cracked
have
it,
a
hadn't
they? Were bigger.
label,
Yeah, I
and they
remember.
poach him, but they show you a video of him. He's in a rock and roll band, and he's a phenomenal drummer.
Yeah.
But Paul just, I think, would
Won't
never allow it.
Yeah, it's not that type of band.
But it's because they wrote songs that
there was sing-along
put emphasised, they emphasised the vocal.
Yeah.
The lyric, you can hear it. Like, everyone that loves the Beatles will sing along to most Beatles songs, and I think that's because you can hear it clearly, you understand the lyrics, you're not drawn away by raging drums and really, like,
some of them are
you don't
quite
hear them
daft
bass
and funny.
lines.
Oh, buddy, oh, buddy.
Yeah, but-
you know, life goes on. Oh, you know, it's a sing-along anthem, isn't it? Like,
I know, but
McCartney
there's the
knows,
genius
right,
in it. It's kind of like Noel, isn't it? Noel, you can write a song
Melody.
that people want to sing back to you.
yeah.
Yellow
Yeah, yeah.
Submarine's terrible. Obadiah's terrible. But it's, people go, it's just, no, they're very catchy.
Yeah.
They're thinking,
So what, do you like any of their, like, main sort of thing? Like, what
Like-
about, like, you open with Can't Buy Me Love? Obviously, everyone knows
one,
that.
love
Yeah.
that one. We were,
You like to sing, sort of, sing-along
well,
one, you know that.
They were a band, but they were a vocal band almost at the start. I was saying to Phil earlier, like 3-part harmonies, copying off the Everly Brothers, but they were playing like guitar pop with 3-part harmonies.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That
It
you
is.
know.
I think you called them a hybrid band. No, yeah, you did. You said they were like a hybrid because they pulled all the best elements of so many different bands that were around at the time and merged it. Didn't they? They had the rock and roll. They had the Everly Brothers, the harmonies. There was elements of when the Beach Boys went away and made Pet Sounds. They went away and made Sergeant Pepper's, and they were absolutely class. And that's what I have this argument at work all the time with people, and they'll say, like after Glastonbury, they're like, "Oh, McCartney was just shite. Like he sounds dreadful."
What, just
And you're
because
like,
I didn't know his songs?
Your voice box, your vocal cords are muscles, and his work better than most.
I thought he sounded just the same.
50-year-old.
It was poor.
He did sound. I think he sounded weak. But what do you expect from an 80-year-old man
Yeah.
that's been singing for 62 years?
And for 2.5 hours. Although he did sound dodgy at the start as well.
Well, the BBC actually come out and said, to digress, they, for the first 6 to 8 songs of his set, they had to use a streaming services platform to broadcast because the engineers couldn't get the best quality from the desk to the
Lives.
yeah. So they had to tap into another person, another
Right.
TV company's
You're not
broadcast.
You're not going to see Paul McCartney, age 80, to go, do you know what? Do you hear his range there?
Yeah.
You're going, Paul,
the
give me
legend.
2.5 hours of all-time
belters.
bangers.
Yeah.
But he didn't do that.
No,
What did you? I was going to ask you is what did you think of it? Because the set, I watched it live and I was like, what the hell are all these? And then my dad was like, oh, it's more like Wings stuff and all this sort of stuff.
You
And I
were
was
saying
like,
that's it. You were saying,
yeah, but is that right?
Yeah, I think he was right to do that.
So
But you just said you want to go see Paul McCartney now to see all these
Yeah,
bangers.
but there was only 4 or 5 songs that I didn't know. Because
Yeah, but
I'll give
you're a
anything
muso.
No, but I would like to think that Armo would give Paul McCartney at least one try album. So I
didn't
recognise
know, yeah.
most.
No, like you
yeah,
said,
I
there wasn't
gave
his
him a try. I'm
Beatles,
saying, but
his
as a
songs.
normal, like I saw, what I'm sort of saying is a normal person who knows of the Beatles would probably want to hear all the classics.
Yeah.
That's what I'm sort of getting at, I suppose. Like, you know, he probably didn't play loads of the classics, but can he? I suppose.
Like you say, if he could play for 2.5 hours, and you'd go, and you could know every song, and you still go, why didn't he play this? So many songs.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it shows as well when people don't know anything about music, because I said when he did that special bit with John Lennon coming on the screen,
Yeah.
I was like, why has he picked this song? Why doesn't he play Imagine? And then someone said to me, but that's not his song. That's John Lennon's song. And I was,
Yeah, but he
and
sings,
I was like,
he sings
oh, yeah, well.
something, no, sometimes, doesn't he?
Yeah, but everyone, I suppose, if you brought on a holographic sign of John Lennon, what song would you think John Lennon's holograph
Yeah,
would
but that's
play?
them on the roof, which is off she. You can get back in it.
Oh, right.
That's
Well-
on. You'll see that in part 3.
Yeah.
Looking cool in his fur coat.
This is where I sort of disagree with Tone in a way, in that you say that all of their tracks are good. I feel like a lot of them are good and sing-along ones, but then they've got a lot of, like I said before, they've got a lot of decent tracks, but they're just like so many of them, they're just almost like whatever. They don't quite hit as well as all like
Comparative
the top
output,
ones.
right? Elvis Presley probably released in the region of a similar amount of songs as the Beatles.
Yeah, I know. I've been listening to them since you told me about the GI Blues.
Average 2 albums a year.
Yeah.
At one point, in
loads.
the early days of his,
But then, so
his
the
career.
amount of songs, if you put Elvis, right, songs released, not doesn't matter who wrote them, then who do you know the most? Beatles will just smash it all
Yeah,
over.
absolutely.
Yeah, but
But you know,
that's
Beatles
what I'm
album
saying,
tracks.
is like
Tone
the
put that
general
song on
person on the
GI Blues,
street.
bit like,
The general person on the street doesn't know the entire discography or whatever you call it of the Beatles.
Yellow
They want to
Submarine-
just hear.
Yellow Submarine.
So, for example, he played like that. Obviously, I know it's a bigger song for them. What is it? Girl coming in through the bathroom window. What's it called?
She Came In.
That's obviously one of their decent songs, but it's not a massive song, so not everyone will know that. Do you know what I mean? Whereas like
Big Abbey
more
Road.
people know Help. He didn't play that, did he?
it's John's.
That's John's. I thought that was a Beatles song.
No, but it's John's, literally John's song. It was supposed to be a slow song about basically being sad, and the Beatles it up.
See, that's what I mean. I don't know anything about it. Like, so,
I haven't got any real friends. I just read about Beatles.
but yeah, I like it. It's good. I'm growing. I'm becoming a muso.
Muso.
What was really, really nice was and I was going to put one of my petulant Facebook statuses out, and I thought, nah, because I don't think it'll hit well. People just won't get it. But the slag, people just, you'd be really surprised how many people just slag Paul McCartney off, like he wasn't very good.
I'm not doing that, by the way. It's just
No,
'cause I didn't
no,
know
you're not.
his
No.
stuff too well.
But I hear it all the time. But what was absolutely fantastic was you had 2 apparent goats,
Bruce and him.
Bruce and Dave Grohl. You know, generally the people who dislike Paul McCartney are the people who are like, well, actually Bruce Springsteen is the greatest, but like, or with Dave Grohl, he's a proper front man, blah, blah, blah. You're like creaming themselves to be on stage with the actual goat. Do you know what I mean? And I hate the term goat. You can put that in room 101. But I loved it. I loved that it's kind of like puts it. I hope it would just quieten down the people who are just overly critical of Paul McCartney for no reason. That 2 of the greatest guitarists and frontmen actually flew from America.
Yeah.
To do 2 songs with him.
Dave Grohl had 2 flights cancelled as well, and
2
he still
songs.
forced himself here.
That should tell these people. Do you know what I mean? That say, well, because I know a couple of people who would swear by Bruce Springsteen and don't like Paul McCartney, and would argue that Paul McCartney didn't influence Bruce Springsteen, and it's absolute
The
tosh.
Beatles influenced nearly every person in,
What is
up to the end of the 90s.
Yeah.
Bruce is about what, 70?
Yeah.
So he'll have been influenced by
Of
the
course he will
Beatles.
Dave Grohl's influenced by Beatles. Is
Well, yeah, but he's younger. I can imagine that because that's like that generation. But
yeah, but
I would
Whoopi
assume
Goldberg-
that because Bruce is
Bruce should have
similar
been 11 and 12-year-old, wouldn't he? When,
Yeah, Whoopi
Yeah.
Goldberg went to see the Beatles in concert. So he's the similar age, and it's going. That'd be their band. That'd be like their Oasis.
yeah.
yeah.
Other bands are available.
Yeah.
And that's what I liked. I mean, I know it's petulant, but you like,
I
think, like it should show people that these are 2 of the actual greatest musicians the world has seen in modern music and past music. Are absolutely
I know
creaming
exactly what you mean. Because that's what I'm trying to say is I reckon, right, more people say just off the cuff, oh, he was crap because they didn't know the songs he was playing. Mm-hmm. Probably that's what I would say because I'm saying that almost, but I'm not saying he was crap. I'm just saying I just didn't know his songs. So I reckon most people probably who aren't big Beatles fans or Paul McCartney fans or know it all, who are just casual.
I think.
Would you think that or not? I don't know because you know him. That's the thing.
I wouldn't go and see anyone like 2.5 hours. There's not many people I would watch for 2.5 hours.
No, but this is Glastonbury that's on TV.
Oh,
Like
yeah, but you
everyone
don't
watches
watch
it.
There's
sort
not many I
of.
watch. Yeah, but no many people watches for in a wanna. There wouldn't be many people sat for 2.5 hours, was there?
No.
It was until about 1 o'clock in the morning.